is for faith, which is all about choosing the right path when sometimes it's unclear or you're not sure what part of the journey you're on. Welcome back to Along This Spiritual Journey. Do not let your fear dictate your faith. Ooh, let me say it again. Do not let your fear dictate your faith. This is one of the ones that I really love talking about because faith is not about religion. It's not about following someone else's doctrine. It's not about doing things in a perfect way. Faith is simply knowing that you trust the outcome that you decide. That you have full knowing that whatever you do is going to work out in the way that you decide because you're putting in the work to make it happen, right? Some people feel like faith is blind, but to me, faith is all knowing because you get to a point where we talked about in the beginning that B is belief. Belief is laced with doubt. You gotta believe it enough to hope it's real until you get proof. Faith is the proof. Faith is the other side of belief, right? At least that's how I look at it. So when you get to a point of being faithful to something, you're not worried about trusting if it's good or bad. You're not worried about if you need to do it a certain way or not. You just know that this is the way it's done. This is the way it works. This is what I'm going to follow because it gets me the best results. Now, faith is a double-edged sword because you can have faith in something so much to the point that you become blinded. I know I said it couldn't be blind. I never said couldn't, but I did say that people believe it's blind faith. You get blinded by what you want versus having faith in what you know you deserve. Does that make sense? So for me, how I look at it is there's blind faith where you trust whatever someone tells you just because someone else you believe in believes in it, right? That's why a lot of people get sucked into cult-like life and they get sucked into cliques and things like that because they have faith in whatever this attribute is or whatever these people have, that it resembles some type of, I must say, comfort to them, that they trust it wholeheartedly, when in reality, faith is more so about knowing, again, what you create and knowing that you put in the work to make sure that it works for you. So sometimes what I mean by you can let your faith blind you is I wholeheartedly believe in the spiritual world. I believe in it so much that I know that, yes, we are physical humans on this earth, but I also realize that there are energies that run everything. When I say energies, you got to think about the most basic fundamental energies, which are our emotions. They are a language. So if you have a bunch of people who are angry, deciding things through anger, based on anger, then they will have faith in being angry because they see that they have people rallying around them. They see that they have enough energy that people are going to do what they need just based on this anger, not even if they care or not. Remember, that's how solicitation works. You see enough people are buying into it. You see that's how trends work. So enough people are buying into it. So somebody out there is like, well, let me just go ahead and sell to them. Even if it's right or wrong, they're going to sell to them because they know that these people have faith in anger. And so I say this because you can also have faith in love, right? Love is not just romantic. I know we have made that word synonymous with just romantic, but love is literally showing up consistently, putting in the work as far as allowing yourself to be, right? Because when I think of love, when it comes to my connections with myself and others, I don't do it because I want something from them. I do it just because I just am. That's just being. That's just what it is, right? Same thing for like the things that I enjoy doing as far as hobbies. I do them because I love doing them. I enjoy them. I love making content. So for me, it's not something that feels negative. It doesn't feel bad. I have faith in what I'm saying. I have confidence in what I'm saying. So therefore, the love that I put into it will show. regardless of what other people believe, because you're going to always have to deal with other people's energies and how they decide that energy needs to be applied to whatever they're looking at, critiquing, involving themselves in, so forth, right? So let me go back a little bit and talk about how trusting how trusting my own fear made me unfaithful to myself. No matter how much I understood what I was supposed to do as far as the spiritual realm goes, which is just listening to the things that make me feel disciplined in my practice, which is I know that we're all going to pass from this earth one day, and the legacy that I leave behind is my choice, right? But then you get to a point where I was fearful of that legacy. I was fearful of what it looked like, what the outcome would be, how I was supposed to achieve it, how I was supposed to garner it, right? There's so many elements to fear that can dictate the faith in the things that you do. That's why I always say it's like, listen, we're not always going to see the end of the road, but we do know the journey and the path that we choose is meant for us based on how we walk it. Now, along that journey of walking this path, you're going to have some obstacles. There's going to be some things that you're going to have to learn how to get through without blaming others or blaming everything else. And so that was the fear part that I was attributing onto my faith, because I was blaming the world, blaming my upbringing, blaming things that were given to me. Again, we are all handed a script on who we are told to be and what we're supposed to believe, and we either get to choose to believe it or not. And then again, how we go out into life and practice this daily is again how it becomes integrated into our consciousness and our behavior and a pattern of behavior of how we then interact with others, talk to others, whatever it might be. And for me, that was something that I came from an environment of not only the hustle culture, I came from a very religious background. Again, I'm not crapping on the religious sector or anyone who believes in religion, but what I'm saying is there's so many rules that you don't have a chance to think for yourself. There's so many things that you're supposed to do based on some type of belief that somebody else came up with. Again, we can call it universe, God, spirit, whatever. If it's written in word that we can read, it is from man. It is it is not from anything other than humans. We interpret the energy that comes through our bodies, we interpret the energy that flows through our minds, and then we put it into what we call communication. And so however we decide to communicate it is again how we're going to apply it to our life. Now, when I was in the world of religion, because a lot of us, when they talk about that in the spirituality world, a lot of us come from that world where we believe in spirituality. We believe in consciousness, God, all of that, all of the above. But the part that I am turning down and turning away from was all the rules. Sometimes you have to remember that rules really are meant to be broken, because it is somebody else's interpretation of an experience that you get to have. And your experience based on who you are will be different than somebody else's. There are some science-based things that are pattern recognized so that if you do it over and over again, you'll get the same result. But again, that doesn't mean that that is your answer, right? People talk about fasting. You can fast all the time. You're going to get similar results. Some people, they might have a negative response. Some people might have a positive response. The point is you're still starving the body, right? You're still taking something from the body. And then while you're starving the body, it's going to learn how to rely on itself. It's going to learn how to function. It's going to become brand new again. And that's the spiritual process of fasting, because now the body is eating away at old cells and dead parts of you that don't belong there. And then as you start to feel that happen, you literally feel you go through this needing food to, I might like food, to, I really don't think about it. That's the process. At least that's the process I've gone through. So for me, I took that as, okay, that's the science part of it. The spiritual part is, what do I want to do with it? Which is stop putting stuff in my body that I don't need. Stop overindulging just because I'm sad or mad or whatever. That's the part that becomes spiritual, because your body really is just like a car. I've said it before. You don't overfill it with gas. You can try as much as you want, but your car can only take as much gas as you can put in it. It's only as big as the tank. So if you keep putting too much gas in, it's going to overflow. It's going to be all over. It's going to smell. It's going to make a mess. And that's not going to serve the car any more than it already needs to be served, right? So overfeeding the body anything, may it be, alcohol or coitus or whatever it might be, that is a choice that you're participating in, because you have to ask yourself, what am I trying to fill a void for? And so that's the part of the journey where I started asking myself, what am I so afraid of? What is my fear that's stopping me from having faith in the journey that I feel I should be on? And so I started to really go back in time and ask myself, like, when did this begin? And I was like, I used to get so mad as a kid because I was like, why does everyone have answers to something that I don't have answers to? And so I became one of those people who overstudied, overread, over-involved myself, just to find out that most of the stuff is just made up every day because somebody chose to make it up, literally. Like, they're like, okay, well, we think this should be this way. And a group of us have enough power or money or whatever behind us that we can make it happen. So it's real now. And I'm just like, that's it? People are like, yeah, that's really it. And I'm just like, this whole time as a kid, I thought people knew something that I didn't know. And so for me, I had to remember that was the part of the fear, thinking like, oh, if I don't do it right, if I don't do it just right the way I'm told, then I'm not going to get these rewards. If I don't do it just the way I'm told, then I'm going to be punished because of whatever. And it was like, I had so much fear in faith that I actually did not have real faith. It was, again, this type of energy that was making me block my own self from getting closer to myself. Does that make sense? Like, when I look back on things, it was like so many times I was like, no, this is the way that this person said it has to be done. This is the way this book said it has to be done. And I would put so much faith in other people's beliefs that I never even had a chance to believe what I felt. That's why a lot of us have anxiety and anger and depression when we get older, because it's our soul saying, why should I listen to you now? You never listened to me before. It's that inner child, the body, the memories inside of us saying, you never cared before, so why should I care now? You're running on autopilot, doing what you want. You're going to believe in whatever these people believe in because you just want to fit in, right? That was the part that I had to unlearn very quickly. Now, don't get me wrong, I've always been a very outspoken kid and a very outspoken personality. But at the same time, I didn't want to rub people the wrong way. So that people pleaser part of me kicked in, and I stopped believing in the things that I chose to believe in. And so what happened was I kept walking away from the things that I trusted within myself to trust things in someone else. And the hardest part about that is words are fiction. They're not real. We make stuff up all the time. Literally, words are just sounds. And we say that this sound means this word. I can say flippity-bop-up. And if I say flippity-bop-up, means going and jumping around in water. If enough people say flippity-bop-up, it's a word. And now it has meaning and context. And we're like, yep, that's flippity-bop-up. And so this is the stuff where I say, like, you have to remember that uncertainty only comes in when you let doubt kick in. And so doubt comes with not knowing or trusting the self. So that's sorry, flippity pop up. So that's the part of the journey that I had to really start to focus in on, which was like, okay, what do I really believe? Like, what am I doing on this earth that's making me feel so stuck, so alone, that I'm angry all the time, right? Because that is the go-to emotion. It's the easiest emotion to go to, but it's the most important because it is the foundation of everything. A lot of times people forget, like when we're coming out through the canal and we're being born, you think that's happy moment? No, it's a pain, it's anger, it's get this thing out of me. Get this over with. And then once it comes out, you're like, oh, joy, happy, beautiful. So you got to remember that all of these emotions are not evil. Again, it's just energy. How you choose to utilize it is what can make something what we call morally evil basis or based on what we consider morally righteous, right? So a lot of the things that I do when it comes to choosing belief over fear is remembering that as an adult, I have to reparent myself all the time. Even right now, just having situations where I'm starting new experiences, I've moved to a new location, I'm in a relationship that everything is great and dandy, but we still have our stuff. Like, we're not perfect at all. And what I mean by this is everything on the outside, there's nothing wrong. We make a great team, we get along really well, but there's stuff that comes back from those childhoods, those infamous childhoods of, again, how our upbringing was, is how we then reflect that type of love back onto someone else. So however we were taught what love is what we're going to give to someone else. It's inevitable. And again, until you decide to rewrite that story or that script, you're going to keep repeating and replicating exactly what your parents have or what your grandparents did or whatever your family belief is, you'll do. And then you'll start having faith in this is the only way that works. And that's a very dangerous road to go down, because I'm like, well, listen, I used to do the same thing. I used to have so much faith in other people's relationships that I didn't allow them to be normal. I put them on pedestals, or to the point that I was like, oh my God, you guys are like my celebrity relationship. And come to find out, these people hated each other. Because again, faith is about trusting something beyond the reason of a doubt. You just know it's real, it is what it is, and you just put faith in it. You don't look behind your back, you don't check twice, you just go with it. That's why faith is a double-edged sword, because it can get you into trouble sometimes. But the beauty of faith is it's like a muscle. You literally have to work it out constantly, all the time, believing in it, trusting in it, rewriting it. It's just a formula. Everything is a simple formula. And however, again, listen, there's the formula and there's the equation, okay? The equation is the basis of what you are creating for yourself. That's the autonomy part. The formula is the sovereignty, the part that other people get to experience and see, right? Because when you're self-governing yourself, no one really sees that part. They only can see the interpretation of that part. But on the inside, it's chaos. No one really knows what you're going through. One minute I'm happy, one minute I'm sad, the same minute I'm both happy and sad. But knowing that I have something to believe in beyond just this human realm has given me so much more power. And I definitely trust in the process of, I would say, the universe. What that means for me is growing plants. Like, I always talk about plant life, but like having a garden, exercising, these things where you can see something be one thing at the beginning, and then because you put work into it, it becomes something else. That's faith, right? If you start working out and saying, this is my goal, you have faith in that process. You have faith in your discipline. Again, if you plant a garden, you have faith in the process of that seed doing what it must do, as long as you follow a certain journey the way you need to follow it. Again, I'm not saying, this is what I said before, that there's rules to everything, but there are some rules that are beneficial to the process. Not that they have to be strictly adhered to, because sometimes, yes, there are processes where you have to do it in these steps for it to work. but it doesn't mean that it has to be that way every single time for it to work. And so that's the part of the journey that I really have given myself, what do you want to say? I've softened up on myself a lot more. I used to be a lot harder on what I did and how it needed to be and the outcome, because I was a perfectionist to the point that everything had to be perfect. I had to talk a certain way, be a certain way, act a certain way. I couldn't smoke or drink or be bad or do anything that would make my reputation. And then I got to the point where I was like, who cares? I'm gonna do what I want. We all on this earth for so long. No one can tell me what my journey is. As long as I always say this, as long as you ain't hurting nobody, if you ain't spitting in nobody's face, smacking them, hurting them, plotting and planning against them, or spitting in your own face, plotting and planning against yourself, right? Because a lot of people do that too. They think that if they're quiet and silent and say nothing, that works. Now, I'm going to talk about this later on in this series, but silence is a powerful tool, but it's only powerful if you're using it correctly. If you're only using silence to make people happy, then you're using it against yourself. If you're using silence to protect your own energy, then now it's a tool. Now you have power, right? But if you are sitting in a room full of a bunch of haters and you don't believe in what they're saying, but instead of speaking up and having faith in yourself that, listen, if they don't rock with me or believe in what I'm saying, or the people who I know stand with me, if they can't, then you walk away, right? But if you are so afraid and having fear and faith that your words matter, then yeah, you're going to become a part of the sheeple who just follow along to what everyone else says. And that's exactly how you dissolve your faith. Now, again, when I talk about faith, it has a multidimensional explanation. Again, faith for me is, I believe in something higher, bigger, grander than me, but I also have faith in simple things like, as long as I put in the work consistently, I will get the outcome I want, right? So that understanding is not caring, not having the confidence to not care. I've said that sentence before, and I've met people that are like, what do you mean you don't care? I don't care. Me saying I don't care doesn't mean I don't care about you. It doesn't mean I don't care about life. It doesn't mean that I don't care about what happens in your life or my life. What it means is I don't care enough to get wrapped up in all of the little details of what makes you stop and sabotage yourself. If I say, hey, you should probably go hang out and do something different so that you can have a different outcome, you're like, no, I'm going to stay in my bubble and do this thing because I don't want to do that. Okay, well, I don't care if you feel lonely. That's not mean, that's truth. Like, I told you what you could do. You know what you could do. You're choosing not to. So that's a choice. And that choice is what's going to dictate, again, what? Behavior, belief, create patterns. And those patterns is, again, what you become faithful to. So if you are faithful to not trying, then you won't try. If you're faithful to giving up, then you will give up. So I am faithful to not caring. Like, I don't care about judgment. I don't care that people like me or do like me or don't like me. Yeah, it's annoying when people try to get under your skin. Don't get me wrong, I'm human. I always tell people, I don't like when people try to get under my skin, but I also don't care, because in that moment, it's an instant, you're one of them. Noted. You just want attention. You just want a reaction. You want me to come out of character for you because it gives you some weird sense of power. Sure, I guess. So again, it's up to you how you apply your faith. I say faith is like a sticker. You can put it on whatever you want and you can take it away whenever you like. It does not have to be written in stone. Some things, if you choose to make it written in stone, it's up to you. But for me, faith is a sticker. I put it where I want. I apply it to where I want. And once it's there, I usually leave it there because that was my choice, right? So how you can practice becoming more disciplined in your faith is trusting the unseen while it's speaking to you. What does that mean? I have gotten to a point where even now, when I get really upset, I want to lash out so bad. Like, I want to be like, "Bah, bah, 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 bah." But there's a part of me that's like, you've done that before in the past. Where did that get you? And I'm like, ugh, fine, let me talk to myself, let me listen to myself. And I slow down. And what I mean by that is, I'm not talking about listening to my thoughts alone. I'm talking about listening to my body. How do I feel? Do I feel attacked? Do I feel vulnerable? What do I feel? And in that moment, that feeling becomes the answer, not the full answer, but just the catalyst to the answer, because it's like, oh, I feel, I'm feeling annoyed because I'm vulnerable right now. This person or thing was able to barricade through my barriers and my boundaries, and now I feel exposed and I don't like it. And because I don't like it, I want to lash out. But is that the correct answer? And then I give myself the opportunity to say yes or no. And from there, if I say yes, then you're going to get that full cuss out. Because sometimes it's necessary. I do believe in you. Sometimes we are other people's karma. I know that sounds weird, but you got to remember, sometimes you are someone else's karma, where they're so used to getting their way that you come along and they try it on you, and you got to just let them have it, and there you go. And then other times it's a no. And that's the moment where it's spiritual for me, because that no is saying, you need to protect your energy in this situation. If you give them what they want, they're going to expand it and build on that. And there are people who do tit for tat and try to match you. It's like that one skit on Chappelle's show, like, I'm just keeping it real. Well, sometimes you keep it so real that you're going to end up someplace you don't want to be. And that's why I learned how to listen to myself and trust myself through the process of, I'm going to say, retention and giving, because learning how to hold space, not only for myself but others, has been a daily practice. And retention is about knowing that, yeah, it's going to get to a breaking point, but until this moment, I can hold it and I can transmute it and I can do something with it. I can go do something with it. Again, however you choose to execute your energy is up to you. But that's where I've learned to say, okay, I'm going to retain this, hold space, let it be. And then there's times I was like, no, I need to give this energy. I can't just keep it to myself. It's meant to be given, which is, again, how I ended up on my platforms and doing the things that I do. I had so much information inside of me that I've processed that it got to a point where it's like, you need to give it back to the collective. Even if it don't make sense to you, which a lot of times it don't, it's gonna make sense to someone else. Remember, your voice, your words, your face, your smile, your sound, all of it is an activation for somebody. There are so many people where I be listening to them speak and it ain't even what they're saying. It's just the tone and the cadence of how they formulate their sentences that literally activates something inside of me. And that's the part of my faith where I'm like, oh, I knew it. Yes, they were speaking right to me. They were speaking exactly to my heart. Like, there's a lot of people on YouTube who I love to watch. And even if they don't know it, like, there's one, Waterstar Vibes, love her. Like, everything she does, I enjoy. From just the color scheme to the decks that she makes and all that. But even without that, even without any of that, her voice alone does something to my spirit. And I love it. Pretty Boss is another one. Just listening to her speak makes me activate. It doesn't even matter what she's saying sometimes. I'm like, your voice alone is activating inside of me. And that's when I had to start learning what faith meant on the spiritual level, because when things speak to you, again, sometimes it will be auditory, verbally, and sometimes it will be silence in the spirit. And so having faith in that process, having faith in those outcomes is what gets you closer to your desires. Now, it's not always going to be easy to trust what you want, and it's not always going to be easy to have faith in what you don't know. But what you do know is that every day is a new opportunity to try. Every day is a new opportunity to give. And every day is a new opportunity to say no. Because again, no is spiritual. To me, no is a very spiritual word. You do not understand how much protection is around the word no. No, simply no. That's it. Like they say, no is a sentence, no is a nerve, no, nerve, it's a verb, it's a noun, it's all of the above. No. Yes is the key. Yes opens the door to possibilities and allowing. And so it's all about duality. I love talking about the what is it again? I forgot. The powers of the universe. I forget the name of it, but one of the ones that I practice, like everyone has their one, but I practice the law of duality. That's it, the laws of the universe. So law of duality is what I choose to live by, because I recognize very quickly there's going to be people to the extreme to the left and people to the extreme to the right, but there's not enough bridge keepers. And to me, that's duality. That little space in between that holds it all together, that's faith. That's what holds love and hate together, is faith. Because you gotta have faith in, I see what's happening over here and I'm not for it, but I ain't trying to get involved in it either. And I see what's happening over here and I love that they love that, but they're so in the delusion that they're not living. So you gotta meet yourself back in the middle and understand that it's about trusting the process. Trust the process of how, again, you're going to walk through fear. Because fear, to me, is the duality of faith. Just like love and hate, those are duality to each other. I say, fear and faith are the duality to each other. And learning how to say, okay, I have faith in what's happening, and I can walk past this fear and say, forget you. You've gotten me nowhere but stagnant. It's time for me to move on and change and grow. That's the part of the process of faith that we got to get to. And again, there's no simple answer. It's just kind of a knowing, and you kind of go with it to kind of just allow yourself to, again, be confident in what you're giving. Be confident in knowing that there's a divine confidence that exists in the world, right? I seen someone on TikTok say it, I loved it, where it's like the universe loves it when you are very cocky with that confidence. When you're like, I don't know if I deserve it, I don't know if I should have it. It's like, okay, well then you ain't gonna get it until you're ready. And then you see people like Cardi B, where she's like, I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna have it. And again, we don't know her inner world, but her confidence exudes so much that she makes you confident. Same like Megan Thee Stallion, all these other rappers and stuff. Like, they make you so confident because they exude this level of faith in what they're doing, right? That's why you got the Beehive. They know, they see it in Beyonce, because she's like, I know who I am, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm on this earth for, I have faith in my talent, I have faith in who I am, and that's going to show every time, hands down. It doesn't matter how much somebody try to come against you. When you know who you are, as far as what you will tolerate and won't tolerate, can't nothing break you. So practice that faith muscle, exercise it every day, and learn ways to trust in the process of loving yourself along this spiritual journey. As always, thanks for following along. If you made it this far, thank you so much for the support. Go ahead and push that like button and or subscribe. We would love it if you join the tribe. I try to post at least every other day. I can't promise it's going to happen always, but I'm always working on some projects. So right now I am consistently posting every other day, at least for this series. And I always have some other project. So I will keep you attuned and in touch. And thanks again. Love ya.